In a climate of fear, even our bravest voices have fallen silent, paralyzed by a growing indifference toward the vulnerable. But we cannot afford to just stare at our problems. We must solve them. Our nation's history is defined by grassroots pioneers who turned impossible obstacles into movements for change. Today, the same broken systems that hold us back offer us an unprecedented chance to leap toward a future that serves everyone. We believe that grassroots organizations shouldn't have to choose between their mission and their operational strength. By equipping teams with scalable training and intuitive tools, we help turn passion into precision. We are building a new standard of confidence, one where accurate reporting and compliance aren't just requirements, but powerful proof of the lives being changed.
Welcome, and thank you for being here today. I'm Dr. Margaret Jamal, founder of New Skills Online and creator of the RATES Principles. Today, we're talking about what it really means to be grant ready in this age and how RATES Principles can help you get where you need to be, especially if you're a small or startup nonprofit. This session is not about chasing funding. It's about building the kind of readiness that makes funding possible. Let me start with something that I say a lot because it's still true. Funding is not scarce. Readiness is. I've been in rooms where millions of dollars were available and grassroots organizations simply couldn't access it. Not because their work wasn't important, not because the need wasn't real, but because they weren't prepared to receive and manage funding responsibly. And when that happens, the communities are the ones who suffer. Now, please listen and hear me on this. If you're a small nonprofit, a startup, a church, or a community organization wearing multiple hats, this is for you. If you've ever thought, we're not big enough yet, or we'll apply once we're more established, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't need to be large to be competitive. You need to be clear, you need to be consistent, and you need to be prepared. Let me explain exactly why I know that we can help you to be clear, consistent, and prepared. Just as we have helped so many others before, in this webinar, you're going to learn about who we helped and how we helped them. You're also going to understand exactly how we plan to start helping you today. So stay in learning mode, because this is not just another webinar. It's not going to cost you anything to apply some of the valuable lessons that you learn by the time we end this webinar. Just please keep in mind who this webinar is intended to help. Small nonprofits, nonprofit startups, churches with community outreaches, and community organizations wearing multiple hats. Let me ask you something to consider. Have you felt happy and even appreciative about where you are, but not really satisfied because your gut was tugging, even nagging at you to do more? Well, I'm one of those who actually likes being in that space because it points towards purpose, and that's where so many of us are at this moment, right? So our nonprofit was providing free bagged groceries along with a youth entertainment program that also developed life skills. Even others saw that we were truly serving and making noticeable improvements in our communities. We even received grants and granted invitations that will later be explained in this webinar. But we still saw that the problems were much bigger than our capacity and reach. We recognized that we had opportunities and resources that other organizations did not have. This disparity was not really helping us or serving our community according to the root problems. You'll learn how we reached those conclusions as well. So we looked for ways to share what we knew and what we had so that we could see a bigger impact. But let me briefly share the story about how we got there and how we grew. Me and my husband and children were blessed to inherit a mindset of gratitude and giving from my mother, who would affectionately become known to all as Reverend Hazel Fort. After Reverend Fort started a church, along with serving delicious hot meals, a food pantry, and after-school outreach program, she managed to get us to attend church and help with outreach, all while experiencing her amazing transformation. Her show of genuine, unconditional love made us all want to learn about Jesus. Believe me, all of us have stories about how Reverend Fort impacted us and how we lived and still try to live her legacy. So now that you have a sense of how we entered nonprofit community service, let me take you to a moment that changed everything. A grant opportunity appeared. At first glance, it looked like funding, but it was really a test. A test of whether we had the structure, the partnerships, and the discipline to create the kind of impact we were dreaming about. And I realized something. Good intentions would never be enough. Passion would never be enough. If we wanted to be trusted with real resources, we needed a framework for readiness. That realization is what led to the development of the RATES principles. Everybody just called it rates and used the name to describe programs, location, relationships, and even language. I'm going to bring up my notes for this part to sort of help me to get through this. It began with a question that settled deep in our hearts. What truly happens to a person when the prison door closes behind them for the last time? We knew the statistics, we knew the challenges, but when we looked closer, really looked closer, we didn't see data points or statistics. We saw brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters standing at the edge of freedom with nowhere steady to place their feet. These were broken men and women returning home with fragile hopes for a new beginning, yet carrying burdens that would overwhelm even the strongest among us. And some were incarcerated as children and abused where they were imprisoned. They needed a safe place to sleep, someone to talk to, skills to rebuild their lives, a job, a bus pass. When we learned about the Access to Recovery initiative, it felt like a door opening at exactly the right moment. Here was a funded pathway to help people rebuild their lives. We submitted our proposal and was among those who were awarded the opportunity. But we were also aware that the need across Chicago was bigger than any one organization. So we began where real change always begins, with people who care. We gathered pastors and community leaders who shared the same commitment to those who had been forgotten. Then we reached outward, building partnerships with organizations that could provide what we could not. We also joined other systems such as a judges cohort and a group of parole officers. Those agreements weren't just paperwork, they were promises that no one would walk their re-entry journey alone. Some partners even stretched beyond their assignments, offering mental health services we weren't licensed to provide, because they understood something powerful. Shelter is important, but healing, dignity, and hope are what truly rebuild a life. Now let me tell you the part people don't always see. None of it was easy. We rewrote proposals. We reorganized systems. We made sacrifices. We worked hard to prove we could be trusted, not only by funders, but by the people who had already been disappointed too many times. And in the middle of that pressure, I realized something. Good intentions would not sustain this work. Passion would not stabilize partnerships, and hope alone would not convince decision makers. If lives were going to change consistently, we needed a way to maintain readiness. We needed a standard framework that could reach across diverse entities, stand up to scrutiny, survive difficulty, and still deliver results. That is the environment where rates was not just imagined, it was tested. And guess what? Rates exceeded our expectations. We even provided grants to smaller organizations that offered housing and life skills. And we contracted small businesses to help with job development. Not that we did everything right. We actually made a bunch of mistakes. The biggest one was not planning to sustain beyond the agreement that we made with the Department of Alcohol and Substance Abuse. And this lesson is the main inspiration for making Easy Grant Writer Pro more than a tool for producing grant proposals. And since you decided to learn with us, you're going to get a link for free, temporary, full access to our Easy Grant Writer Pro app. So now get ready to learn lessons from my rates development course that you can apply today. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you as we move to the next segment of the webinar. Pay attention to learn how you can use your understanding of responsibility to help you build your development and funding strategies.
Here is a breakdown of the responsibility component of the rates principles. As we dive in, remember my core philosophy. Capacity, not just passion, is the deciding factor. Responsibility isn't just about picking up the phone when a donor calls. It is your organization's literal ability to respond to a specific documented need in a way that actually moves the needle. When I sat in the reviewer's chair for the feds, this was the first gate. If you couldn't prove you understood the problem, I couldn't trust you with the solution. 1. Clear mission statement that defines the problem we address. What it is. Your mission statement is your North Star. It is a concise declaration of your organization's core purpose, explicitly stating who you serve, what you do, and why it matters. It's not a tagline, it's a contract with your community. Why it's needed. Without a clear mission, you are a ship without a rudder. I've seen organizations chase funding streams that had nothing to do with their purpose. We call that mission creep. A strong mission keeps you disciplined. It tells funders exactly what they are buying into. From my notebook, anecdotal example. When I first started attending those community meetings in Chicago with my mother, I met a group that claimed they wanted to help the people of Chicago have a better life. That sounds nice, doesn't it? But it's unfundable. Which people? What is a better life? A grant reviewer looks at that and sees a black hole for money. Contrast that with a group we partnered with later to eliminate food insecurity in the Austin neighborhood by providing nutritional education and access to fresh produce. Boom, specific, actionable, fundable. How to develop it, best practices. The t-shirt test. Can it fit on a t-shirt and still make sense? The formula, use the problem plus action result structure. Avoid jargon. If an 8th grader can't understand it, rewrite it. References. Candid, formerly Foundation Center. Crafting a mission statement, candid.org. National Council of Nonprofits, mission statements, councilofnonprofits.org. 2. Documented problem statement with evidence of impact. What it is. This is the ouch. It is a data-driven narrative that proves the problem exists, is urgent, and is hurting a specific group of people. It is not based on feelings, it is based on facts. Why it's needed. You cannot solve a problem you haven't defined. Funders need to know the scale of the issue. If you say youth need mentors, that's an opinion. If you say 60% of youth in this zip code drop out before 11th grade, that's a crisis requiring a response. From my notebook. As a federal grant reviewer, nothing frustrated me more than the Trust Me proposal. These were proposals that said, we know there is a need because we see it every day. I don't doubt your eyes, but I cannot cut a check based on your eyesight. I need the census data. I need the police reports. I need the local university study. When I wrote the problem statement for a youth program, I didn't just talk about bad behavior. I pulled school suspension records to quantify the school-to-prison pipeline in our specific district. How to develop it. Gather data. Use the U.S. Census Bureau, local health department records, and school district reports. Humanize the data. Pair a hard statistic with a brief, anonymized story of a real person. Gap analysis. Show the gap between the current reality and the desired future. References. U.S. Census Bureau, census.gov. Pew Research Center, Social Trends, pewresearch.org. 3. Define target population and geographic service area. What it is. This defines the boundaries of your work. It specifies exactly who, demographics, age, socioeconomic status, and where, neighborhood, city, county, you serve. Why it's needed. You cannot save the whole world by Tuesday. Attempting to serve everyone usually results in serving no one well. Funders want to see that you have a manageable scope. It proves you are realistic about your capacity. From my notebook, I recall a passionate founder telling me their target market was anyone in Illinois who is sad. While I admired her empathy, that is a logistical nightmare. In the Easy Grant Writer Pro workshops, I force participants to narrow their focus until it hurts. We moved one client from helping homeless veterans in the Midwest to serving female veterans with children in Cook County. Suddenly, her outcomes became measurable, and she got the grant. How to develop it. Zip code analysis. List the specific zip codes where you operate. Client avatars. Create a detailed profile of your ideal beneficiary. Scope versus capacity. Ensure your staff size matches your target population size. References: Community Toolbox, University of Kansas, Defining and Analyzing the Problem and Target Population, ctb.ku.edu. For Articulated Theory of Change or Logic Model. What it is. This is your roadmap. It is a visual or written explanation of how your activities lead to your desired results. It connects the dots. If we do X, then Y will happen, leading to Z. Why it's needed. This is the litmus test for logic. It proves you aren't just doing busy work. It shows that you have a causal link between your program and the change you promised. From my notebook. Now, I apply what I call the show the work standard. I've reviewed proposals that went from basketball camp to reduced violence with no explanation in between. In rates, we slow that down. We show how skills lead to behaviors, behaviors lead to outcomes, and outcomes lead to lasting change. Funders aren't impressed by leaps, they're persuaded by logic. How to develop it. Backwards mapping. Start with the long-term goal and work backward. Inputs, activities, outcomes. Use the standard logic model flow. Keep it visual. A one-page diagram is often more powerful than 5 pages of text. References: W.K. Kellogg Foundation, Logic Model Development Guide, The Industry Standard, f.org. The Valuation Toolkit, bja.ojp.gov. 5. Clear understanding of how our work eliminates, not just manages, the problem. What it is. This distinguishes between charity, alleviating symptoms, and change, curing the disease. It is a strategic focus on root causes. Why it's needed. Funders are increasingly looking for systems change. They don't just want to buy soup for the hungry. They want to know why the soup lines are getting longer. If you can show a path to elimination, you move into a different tier of funding. From my notebook, my mother was a master of this. She'd say, "Margaret, it's good to give a coat to a child, but we need to ask why his parents can't afford one." That question changed everything for me. It moved us from just running clothing drives to partnering with job training centers. In your proposals, you need to show you are fighting the fire, not just fanning the smoke. How to develop it. The 5 whys. Ask why is this happening 5 times to get to the root cause. Upstream thinking. Look for preventative measures rather than just reactive ones. References: Stanford Social Innovation Review, The Water of Systems Change, SI.org. Systemschange.org. 6. Identification of key community partners and stakeholders. What it is. A roster of other organizations, leaders, and institutions you collaborate with. This proves you are not a lone ranger. Why it's needed. Collaboration extends capacity. Funders know that complex problems require community-wide solutions. If you try to do it all alone, you look risky. If you have partners, you look resourceful. From my notebook, when I moved back to Chicago, I thought I had to build everything from scratch. I was wrong. I learned that the fastest way to capacity was to borrow it. We didn't have a mental health counselor, so we partnered with a clinic that did. In my grant applications, I included MOUs, Memorandums of Understanding. It's like a prenup for nonprofits. It clarifies who does what, so there are no fights later. How to develop it. Asset mapping. Map out who else is working in your space. Formalize it. Don't just shake hands. Get a signed letter of support or MOU. Diverse sectors. Partner with businesses, government, and other nonprofits. References: Collective Impact Forum, the Collective Impact Framework, collectiveimpactforum.org. Grant Professionals Association, Best Practices in Collaboration, grantprofessionals.org. 7. Process for receiving and responding to community feedback. What it is. A formal mechanism for listening to the people you serve. It transforms your beneficiaries from passive recipients into active participants. Why it's needed. This is about respect and relevance. If you don't listen, you risk creating solutions for problems that don't exist or solving them in a way that doesn't work. It protects you from the savior complex. From my notebook, remember, I moved to Chicago with a willingness to listen. That wasn't just a personal virtue, it was a business strategy. We once designed a perfect after-school program only to find out no one showed up. Why? We didn't ask the parents. Turns out the location was across a gang boundary line that wasn't safe to cross. One town hall meeting would have saved us 6 months of work. How to develop it? Advisory boards. Create a board comprised of the people you serve. Feedback loops. Use simple surveys, suggestion boxes, or regular town halls. Act on it. Document changes you made because of feedback. References. Urban Institute, Community Engagement Methods, urban.org. 8. Crisis Response Plan for Emergency Situations. What it is. A documented strategy for how your organization continues to operate or pauses safely during disasters, be it a fire, a PR scandal, or a global pandemic. Why it's needed. COVID-19 taught us this lesson the hard way. The organizations that had a plan pivoted. The ones that didn't perished. Funders view this as an insurance policy on their investment. From my notebook. In my early days, we had a pipe burst in our office. We lost files, computers, everything. We didn't have a backup plan. We were offline for weeks. Now, Easy Grant Writer Pro emphasizes cloud backups and remote work protocols. When I write a grant now, I explicitly state we have a continuity plan ensuring services proceed within 48 hours of a crisis. It builds immense confidence. How to develop it. Risk assessment. Identify potential threats, natural, financial, reputational. Who calls who? Digital redundancy. Keep critical data in the cloud. References. Business Continuity Plan, ready.gov/business. Nonprofit Risk Management Center, nonprofitrisk.org. 9. Capacity to adapt programs based on changing needs. What it is. The organizational agility to pivot when the data tells you to. It is the opposite of being stuck in your ways. Why it's needed. Communities change, demographics shift, technology evolves. If you are still solving 1990s problems with 1990s methods, you are obsolete. This shows longevity and relevance. From my notebook, I've seen organizations holding on to programs just because we've always done it this way. That is the death knell of a nonprofit. I recall a literacy program that refused to use tablets because they loved paper books. They lost the kids. We have to be married to the mission, not the method. How to develop it. Don't wait for the annual report to check your data. Professional development. Keep your staff trained on the latest industry trends. Pilot programs. Test new ideas on a small scale before rolling them out. References. Harvard Business Review, the Agile Nonprofit.org. Bridgespan Group, Strategy for Nonprofits, bridgespan.org. 10. Documentation of how we differ from other organizations. What it is, your unique value proposition, UVP. It explains what you do that no one else does or how you do it better differently. Why it's needed. Competition for funding is fierce. If I am a reviewer reading 50 proposals for youth mentoring, why should I pick yours? You need to articulate your secret sauce. From my notebook. This brings me back to my writing days. When I started writing articles, I realized my flow was different because of my grant writing structure. That was my differentiator. In the nonprofit world, maybe your differentiator is your location, your cultural competency, or your specific methodology. Don't be shy. Modesty doesn't get funded. How to develop it. Competitive landscape analysis. Research your competitors, friendly ones. Identify gaps. Find what they aren't doing. Highlight expertise. Showcase your staff's unique qualifications, like your RATE certification. References. Blue Ocean Strategy, blueoceanstrategy.com. Concepts apply to nonprofits finding uncontested market space. The Nonprofit Quarterly. Articles on strategic positioning, nonprofitquarterly.org.
So I'm going to share my screen with you because I have a really cute animation to show you how easy it is to get started with Easy Grant Writer Pro. This is just one of the great features we built for you. This is the Quick Proposal Generator. Quick Proposal Generator, from idea to full proposal in minutes. Okay, picture this scenario. It's Friday afternoon. You just heard about an amazing foundation that's perfect for your work, and you want to get something to them quickly. Enter the Quick Proposal Generator. This is for when you don't have a specific RFP, but you do have a great idea. Here's the powerful formula. 1. Problem you're addressing. What keeps you up at night about your community? 2. Target population. Who exactly are you helping? 3. Geographic location. Where is this happening? 4. Project length. How long will it take? 5. Your organization name. That's it. What happens next will blow your mind. The AI becomes a research machine. 1. Finds current demographic data for your location. 2. Researches salary ranges and costs. 3. Creates a complete staffing plan. 4. Builds a detailed, realistic budget. 5. Writes compelling narrative sections. 6. Develops an evaluation methodology. Real example. I watched someone enter homeless youth in Denver and get back a complete 8-page proposal with a $150,000 budget, staffing plan, and evaluation framework. Total time? 3 minutes. Pro tip. This is perfect for foundation grants where they want to see your general approach before inviting a full proposal. Best part. Everything gets automatically saved to your dashboard so you can come back and refine it later. When to use this? 1. Foundation outreach. 2. Initial concept development. 3rd board presentations. 4. Quick turnaround opportunities. Think of it as your grant writing espresso shot. Quick, powerful, and energizing. Stop settling for good enough grant tools that leave the heavy lifting to you. We analyzed the top 3 platforms in the philanthropic space and realized something was missing. Simplicity. That's why we created Easy Grant Writer Pro. It's not just an alternative, it's an evolution. We're so confident that our application is the best in the industry that we're inviting you to test it against any other tool with our introductory 7 days for free offer starting today. Stick around. I'm about to show you how to gain the competitive edge your mission deserves. Stay with me while I show you the unmatched power of our high-end grant readiness tool all into one simple app. Are you ready?
What if you had an assistant that could help you create winning grant proposals? Introducing the Easy Grant Writer Pro Grant Wizard, your cutting-edge companion designed to streamline the grant writing process. This innovative tool guides you through a proven 9-step process, making proposal crafting not just easier, but smarter. First, upload your funding announcement. This crucial step allows the AI to dive into the funder's requirements, priorities, and evaluation criteria, ensuring your proposal hits the mark. Next, take a moment to review the AI analysis results. Understanding what funders want is key. Here, the AI will pinpoint essential details like deadlines and scoring criteria, clarifying what you need to highlight in your proposal. Then select your program areas and scope. By narrowing your focus, the AI crafts content that aligns perfectly with your goals and the funder's interests. With the Easy Grant Writer Pro Grant Wizard guiding you, winning grants could be just a proposal away.
Thank you for staying the course today and proving your commitment to building a lasting legacy. You've seen the strategy. Now it's time to see how Easy Grant Writer Pro crafts the competitive, high-scoring proposals that help turn vision into reality. Don't wait to plunge into the tools that guide you to total grant readiness. When you're grant ready, you can move with the confidence that donors want to fund your mission. Let's think strategically about the big picture. Click the link and sign up now with the conviction that your goal to eliminate a problem and create a sustaining impact is exactly what attracts investors to your vision. Fund your success and help change the world. Click the link below, sign up now. Let's get started.